everyone. Welcome to WAFUNIF Lunch and Learn series. My name is Liliana Bucur Cress, and I'm the president of WAFUNIF, the World Association of Former United Nations Interns and Fellows, the official alumni association of the former UN Interns and Fellows worldwide. We work with representatives from various organizations such as technologists, policymakers, financiers, community representatives, to educate and empower individuals to make a difference by discussing problems and solutions on a global scale. Through conferences and workshops and mentorship programs, we equip our members with the skills and resources to drive positive change on global issues. Today, I have the privilege to interview Dr. Martha Thomas. She's the Executive Director of the Academic Council on the United Nations System and also an Assistant Professor of the Practice at the School of Foreign Service in Georgetown University. Dr. Martha Thomas teaches courses on international organizations, analysis of political data, international political economy at Georgetown University, and also University of Vermont and Pennsylvania State University. Her research focuses on issues of international political economy, trade, regional, organizational, and migration. She has conducted field research in Belgium, Ireland, and Italy, and she has been awarded over 10 grants and fellowships and scholarships. Prior to her academic employment, she worked at the United Nations system, assisting in planning the annual UN Department of Public Information, the former DPI, in their NGO conference. She was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. She lives with her family now in Washington, D.C. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics, a master in arts and public policy, and a PhD in political science. Good morning, Dr. Martha Thomas. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm doing well. And how about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. And thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of our WAFUNIF Lunch and Learn project, our series. We are very honored.
Delighted.
We're very honored to have you. And I would like to find more about you or your organization, and also I'll say just a few words about your organization. And then through our questions, we would like to explore more about your work and your professional development career. The Academic Council on the United Nations System is an independent nonprofit association dedicated to advancing research, teaching, and policy engagement on issues related to the United Nations and international organizations. Basically, in a nutshell, your organization provides a platform for academics, practitioners, and institutions to collaborate on global governance and international cooperations. The Academic Council on the Nations System offers its members access to UN grant passes, facilitating engagement with its UN work, and also by hosting different conferences and workshops, and publishes resources to support its missions. I prepare a few questions that I would like to go overall with you, and I would like to start by asking you, how has the mission of the Academic Council on the United Nations System evolved since its founding in 1987?
Thanks for that question. Great question. So in 1987, ACUNS, the Academic Council on the United Nations System, was formed to unite students, scholars, practitioners, as well as researchers who were committed to the study and evidence-based research on the UN. The organization doesn't advocate for the UN, but it's committed to encouraging study on the UN and teaching on international organizations, broadly speaking. That mission at its core has remained and has sustained. What has evolved are the activities that we utilize in order to achieve this mission. And so soon after its founding, we've held our first annual meeting in 1988, and we've held annual meetings every year henceforth. So we just concluded our 37th annual meeting, co-hosted by the UN University in Tokyo and the University of Tokyo. So it was in Japan. And so the annual meeting has been sort of the constant bread and butter. But in 1991, we added, and again, this is the building on diversity of activities to achieve that core mission. We added to our portfolio the ACUNS UN workshop, in which we bring together junior academics and junior UN officials for 1 week of intense discussion on their research to evolve new ideas and improve upon research projects. That further evolved in 1995 to add to it the launch of the Global Governance Journal. And so that is our journal, the journal hosted by ACUNS. And this journal allows for cutting edge research by leading scholars and practitioners on international cooperation and multilateralism. We also began realizing that there needed to be recognition of rising junior scholars with extraordinary talent. And so in 1995, we added the ACUNS Dissertation Award. And so the Dissertation Award recognizes extraordinary research that is rising and would likely become the premier books of the future by recent PhD recipients. And then in 2008, we realized that certainly publications that have excellent, the best books published on the UN and issues directly related to the work of the UN should be recognized, as our mission is to promote evidence-based research, and hence the ACUNS Book Award was commenced in 2008. So the mission has sustained. There has been an evolution and an expansion in how we promote that mission.
Wonderful. And you mentioned a few of, let's say, the milestones. Can you tell us some of the most significant milestones that ACUNS has achieved in the last couple of years?
So I would say, if I'm to put into perspective, I would say, what is ACUNS most proud of? And in the last couple of years, I would say we're very proud of the Global South Scholar funding system we have developed over the last few years to recognize and incorporate the ideas, the discourse, and the research of scholars from the Global South. We allow for partial reimbursement of travel of presenters from the Global South to attend the annual meeting. And we are quite proud of that, and we are looking for ways to sustain that well into the future and to expand the pool of who we incorporated in this umbrella. We think the work of the UN touches and reaches persons who are from all diverse backgrounds, communities, and regions. And so the larger the umbrella of participants engaging in evidence-based discussion, the better for the output of the organization.
Wonderful. Can you tell me what are the primary objectives of ACUNS in annual meetings that you have, and also how have these meetings influenced policy and academic discourse over the years?
So the primary objective is to create an opportunity for discussion, for presentation, and for sharing of ideas. But the uniqueness of the ACUNS annual meeting is that it allows for practitioners, UN officials, as well as academics to meet in the same space, to share their work, to exchange their ideas, to discuss each other's papers, to offer new ways of viewing the world, and to run, for an academic, to run the thread of your findings through the practitioner who engages in that subject matter in the field, and vice versa. And so that is quite unique, as many, not all, many professional organizations, they tend to either be the home base of primarily an academic crowd or an academic base of persons, or a practitioner base of individuals. And so we are an organization that has what I will call a healthy mix of both that participate on a yearly basis. I would say it is very much evidenced by the officials who participate in the plenaries that we host each year, from UN officials of all stripe. It is very much evidenced that we are able to bring together both the academic and the practitioner crowd.
Wonderful. And what are some of the goals of your organization's workshops and how they are structured? And I think for me, it will be interesting to find out, how do you select the topics and the participants for those workshops?
So the starting point for our workshop is for ACUNS to engage in discussion with an interested host. And so a host institute that will be willing to make available its facilities for at least 1 week. The workshops are 1 week long, and so it's a commitment on the part of the participants as well as the part of the host. The host primarily determines the theme of that particular year's workshop along with ACUNS. The goal of the discussion between us is to identify and come to an agreement on a topic that's sufficiently broad that it will attract a rich and deep pool, such that during that week, the participants will be able to share ideas different from, unique to, diverse, and each person will be able to leave with something from this workshop, some aspect of their research, some perspective that they would not have had prior to coming in. So the decision on theme is a co-decision primarily influenced by the host who's interested in bringing that workshop to their institute or university, along with ACUNS as a general guide. We work with the United Nations Office on Human Resources, and they have been a wonderful partner to us over the years, and they are the ones who help us to advertise broadly the workshop across the UN system and determine the appropriate UN applicants who will be able to qualify for the workshop. The UN has been an excellent friend of ours in over the years, in that the UN has covered the travel cost for its 10 junior UN officials or rising UN officials. And so that has been such a great assistance and a great partnership, hence the close relationship between ACUNS and the UN as it relates to the ACUNS UN workshop. It's 1 week long. The evolution of the workshop has been that you submit a group of directors, and there typically has been about 3 co-directors of the workshop. They engage in the selection process. Once the successful applicants have been notified, they then prepare their research project. Their research project is then sent around to the entire group. Everyone is responsible for reading each other's work, and you do not present your own work at the workshop. During the workshop, someone else presents your subject matter, so you can see how your research is reflected through the eyes of another participant. That is then followed by an hours-long discussion of your project. And the notion is to allow academics to see how their project fits with the reality in the field, and to allow UN officials to see the implications of their work through the lens of an academic. And so there is a rich, detailed discussion, and much fruitful outcomes have emerged. Co-authored papers, conference presentations, books have been published through the presentations and the discussions that have evolved from the workshop. Certainly, it's a 1 week commitment, and it has been something that we have received immensely positive feedback from those who have participated in the past.
Wonderful. I know that you're offering UN ground passes for those who qualify and they are members of your organization, but what are other key benefits of becoming a member? Maybe you can share with us some stories of how membership has positively impacted individuals or other NGOs, other institutions.
So certainly one of the key benefits is access to the journal Global Governance. So all members have access to Global Governance, and Global Governance is an important and leading journal on international cooperation, global governance, and multilateralism. And it's available at universities across the world, and so it's well housed in several libraries worldwide. So it has an important impact in research and discourse on international organizations and the UN system and the work of the UN in general. Ground passes certainly is another area in which our members see much benefit. Participation in our annual meeting, access to the dissertation award is another area in which application for an ability to succeed in obtaining the dissertation award is another area in which our members see benefit from ACUNS. We also have begun putting our feet into the world of having virtual events. We had one late spring, and we hope to continue doing those. And so members are able to have information on and access to our upcoming events as we move into the foray of the virtual world of virtual engagement and talks that will be hosted online.
Wonderful. So we have to encourage more people to become member of your organization. Um,
Great.
Also, I would like to know, how does your organization, the Academic Council and UN system, contribute to the dissemination and promotion of the scholarly work through his research and publications, the way you mentioned about the Global Governance Journal?
So certainly, Global Governance, the journal, is the one of the three main core activities that we undertake in order to pursue our mission of evidence-based research on the UN. Other ways in which we see the dissemination is in the many books that are published that come through and come from the workshops and the annual meeting. While ACUNS itself is not a press to publish books, we have seen our members thrive over the years in the ability to push their research forward based on the feedback that our platform has afforded them.
Wonderful. And can you tell us some of the most successful collaborations that ACUNS has engaged in, let's say, since you became president, executive director?
I would say that I'll pull us back a little in history to recall Kofi Annan, who was a founding member of ACUNS. And when he was Secretary General, Kofi Annan said, and I'm paraphrasing, where can we be more effective? We, the UN, the world system. Where and how can we make a greater impact? And then he said, these are questions I look to ACUNS to help me answer. And I think that's very much reflected in impact of ACUNS. I think it carries through to this day in that at all of our annual meetings, senior UN officials are our key speakers, and they take these opportunities quite seriously to address an audience that has impact in their local, their national, and their regional communities, in the academic and in the world of practitioners. This annual meeting, we had Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, as well as Pedro Conceição, the director of the Human Rights Report. Last year, we had Binta Keita, Under Secretary General for MINUSCO, as well as Rosemary DiCarlo, Under Secretary General for Political and Peacekeeping Affairs. The year prior, 2022, we had Tatiana Valavea, UN Director General for Geneva. And so you can see the thread of continued desire to utilize ACUNS as a platform by senior UN officials to send a clear message of their continued view that ACUNS is important to the work of the UN, to the analysis of the UN, to improving the UN.
As an executive director, can you tell me what are the qualities that you believe are essential for effective leadership within ACUNS?
Oh, that's a big question. I would say belief in the organization's purpose. And what I mean by a belief in the purpose, a belief that bringing the right group of people together from as diverse a background as possible, I think that is one of the things that sustains me. That in the days where the funding is limited, in the days where, the negotiations for an MOU is tricky, I sustain because I know that the next annual meeting or the next workshop will bring a burst of ideas and a new way of looking at the world that practitioners will take back to the field and scholars will take back to the classroom. And so a belief in the issues that we cover and in getting the right people in the right place is crucial.
You mentioned about the young scholars and practitioners. Can you mention to me what educational programs does ACUNS offer to them as of today?
Yeah, so Our monthly bulletin, which is every month we put out our version of a newsletter, which is the ACUNS monthly bulletin, and persons who you do not have to be an ACUNS member to sign up to receive it. So anyone, I encourage you to sign up, go to the ACUNS website and sign up to receive the monthly bulletin. It contains, on a rolling basis, we provide information about programs, fellowships, university opportunities, job openings that persons who are emerging in their career as well as rising in their career can become aware of. And so the ability of this monthly bulletin to reach a vast audience across the world is crucial for them to be aware of opportunities that are not in just their immediate locale. Beyond that, the ACUNS UN workshop. The workshop is really a space for junior practitioners and junior scholars, recent PhDs or non-tenured faculty members, or P1 to P3 typically. Those are the groupings that are the focus of the workshop, and so it allows them an opportunity to test their research and improve their research in a smaller, intimate, and committed audience. And then we have opportunities such as the Global South Scholar Reimbursement. In addition to that fund focusing on those who, scholars and presenters from the Global South, we also pay particular attention and try to afford the same funding to those who are students, even when they are coming from countries designated as Global North countries. Mm-hmm. And so I think I've sort of given you a range there of how those who are emerging, who are rising in their careers, can avail of opportunities.
And you mentioned about the challenges, and I think a lot of NGOs, especially after COVID, we are faced with different challenges and problems. And can you tell us what are the current challenges that your organization is facing and how you address them?
I think it would not surprise anyone when I say that a significant challenge for ACUNS is funding. And so we have had to reimagine and think of creative ways to keep our, membership interested, to keep our membership informed, to keep them engaging. And so we have expanded. COVID has in fact, during COVID, our annual meeting was held completely virtually, and that has made us realize that we can open up our annual meeting to in-person as well as virtual participants. And so we've had to find creative ways, given the funding limitations on our end, as well as the funding limitations on the path of those who want to be in the conversation. We have reached out to other NGOs who have had to evolve their funding strategies to learn best methods, best strategies, and we have formed a fundraising task force within our leadership, and we are starting to take some of those lessons learned from our friends and other NGOs and begin to put them into action. And so that is the way in which we're looking to move in the future towards dealing with a perpetual problem for every NGO, funding limits.
And I think that's so important to network and collaborate and learn from each other as NGOs, because we're all facing different problems and issues. And I think collaborating and just having open dialogue among us, I think it really helps us to improve in some ways or to learn other ways to deal with our challenges. So I think it's very interesting. I'll have another last question. How do you plan to expand the ACUNS impact and reach in the global governance community? And are there new initiatives or projects on the horizon that you are particularly excited about?
So, very good question. And this comes off of the learning that has emerged during COVID, as well as the realities of funding limits, and also seeing the innovative things that other institutions have been doing. And so we are very much moving into utilizing the virtual platform as a means of hosting talks with leaders and thinkers on global governance, multilateralism. And so that is something we're beginning to plan towards. We tested those waters in the spring where we showcased our most recent ACUNS UN workshop, which was held in India at OP Jindal. And so the researchers who participated in that workshop. We showcased a few of their research papers and had them engage in a discussion as well as an open Q&A with our online audience. And so we're looking forward to doing more of that, showcasing extraordinary research and talent, as well as hosting talks. We are excited to look for partners in that regard as we think towards increased activities as well as utilizing the virtual space more.
Where can we find you? So you have a website, ACUNS.org.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
on the social media as well.
Yes, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. I do admit we have to do more on our Twitter and our Instagram. Our Twitter and our Instagram really goes on fire around the time of our annual meeting. But I do see opportunities where we will have to utilize those spaces even more throughout the year.
And we'll make sure we'll add those at the end of our discussion, so those who are
Thank you.
guests will be able to contact you directly. I want to thank you. Thank you for your time and dedication, for all your work you're doing for your organization. I think it's great that people like you are still dedicated to continue the work of the UN and to outreach to so many people around the world. And I think having these dialogues online as a virtual platform, I think opens the doors, and we can communicate with people from around the world and get in touch with them even better than having online physical events where we can meet in person.
True.
I want to thank you again, and I want to thank you for joining us in today's Lunch and Learn series, where we explore the key topics related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We hope that you found the discussions insightful and inspiring. And I want to remember to our audience that every small action contributes to a larger impact. We want them to stay connected with us for more sessions as we continue to delve into each of the 17 SDGs and discover more about the work of the UN, and also different practical ways to make a difference in our life. We also want to remind our viewers to don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this series with other committed to global change, and to stay updated on our latest efforts and events. Also, to learn more about our mission and our initiatives, or to make a donation to your organization or to us, they should visit our website, ACUNS.org, and in our case, WAFUNIF.org. Thank you very much for your time again. And
thank you very much, Liliana. This was a wonderful discussion, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
We hope to stay in touch with you, and I think in the future, when we gather more organizations which are under the UN umbrella, to the ECOSOC or former DPI, which is now Department of Global Communication, we hope at one point to gather all these NGOs under one big conference, where we can talk and explore topics of common interest, and, as I said, challenges that we all face in especially after COVID, where we had to restructure and rebuild our organizations in so many ways. So I hope in the near future we can do that and have you also part of our conference.
Wonderful. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Dr. Marta Thomas, you mentioned to me that you were an intern with WAFUNIF back in your days when probably you were a student. Can you tell me a little bit more about your internship with WAFUNIF?
Oh, I would say that it really lit the fire for me to realize that the goal of simply academic research was not sufficient in order to create full impact. And so the work of NGOs, the work of organizations that bring and keep people together, which is something we both share in common, ACUNS and WAFUNIF share in common, it certainly was the birth of that realization certainly started in those days, and I am most grateful for that opportunity that started inspiring me, and now I'm realizing it in many new and unique ways, and facing challenges that we share in common, but realizing we can get through it together.
That's wonderful. I also was an intern with WAFUNIF back in the days when I was going to school in New York City, and that's how I got involved in the work of WAFUNIF, and I'm still with WAFUNIF, and I became president. So it's wonderful for me to discover people like you who knew WAFUNIF back in 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, and knew the founder, Dr. Holroyd Davis. So thank you for sharing with
Indeed.
us this part of your background.
Thank you for asking.
No, thank you.